Hello and welcome to the Andrati studio on day 2 at Charge 2016. It's been a feature-packed second day at the event. I can't tell you the insights, but we're actually joined by Regine Alewijnse, brand manager at Eneco. Regine, first thing, have I butchered your surname?
You did it fantastically, yes.
Well,
So,
thank you very
well
much.
done. It's a difficult name, it's a Dutch name. But
I'm learning, I do apologize. How are you finding the show so far?
Well, it's very, very interesting to see what the state is of the European energy industry. So it's been very inspiring to hear all the speakers and their perspective on the energy market and on the topic of branding, of course.
You've been very active on Twitter, like I wouldn't say calling out, but
I tried to be, yeah.
following out on the points that really resonated or didn't resonate with you. And it's quite interesting. I don't know, for the purpose of the audience, could you just tell us about your role at Eneco?
Yeah. I work at Eneco as a manager branding, so I'm responsible for brand management, corporate communications, employer branding, digital communications, and
so
all that
you
stuff.
can now see the interest, right? It's in her zone. These
Yeah.
people are in her territory, talking about her life. Okay.
Okay, well, actually, my life is a little bit more than work only.
Well, I
but,
mean more from a professional sense, obviously.
From a professional viewpoint, yes, I'm at the heart of what I do as a profession.
And in terms of some of those key points, you know, what were the sort of key takeaways for you?
Well, I guess, especially from the speakers today, I guess the key takeaway is that we see a paradigm shift happening where people are becoming central. I mean, the future of energy lies with people, really. And that's a result of the energy transition becoming more and more decentral and sustainable. So it's not us, but actually the people, the consumers, who are in charge of their own energy management and decide how they want to produce energy, where it comes from, how they use it, how they store it, how they share it. And so there's a whole different relationship between energy companies and the consumers. I mean, of course, a lot of energy companies have found out that it's important to be customer-centric, but putting people central even goes beyond that. Just
I
because
was going to ask you, right?
No, I think it's a little bit beyond that because the customer, of course, is a sort of abstract definition, and of course you have to do right in the eyes of the customer. You want him to be loyal. You want him to be advocate your brand and be satisfied with your products and the way that you bring the products and do the service. But I guess in the new world where actually consumers run energy as it is, it's going to be whole different. And it's, I think, the important sort of task that we have is to enable those customers and really understand what drives them. And I think that starts with seeing the customer as a sort of human being. Of course, yesterday we had the CEO from Fingrid about engineers understanding the need to understand that customers are human beings. And I guess, of course, we can make fun of it, but there's really truth in that. Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm seeing a trend here, and you know, Stedin have come here. They've talked about innovation, the new energy future, and customer centralization. You're from Eneco. You're here saying the same thing. Is this just a Dutch thing, like kind of total football,
actually,
right? You guys are doing your total football here.
Also, other companies have said that. Of course, the presentation from Over Energy, you have to think like a villager, or the presentation from Enel. I think that was sort of the key takeaway. And I guess, yeah.
Let me ask you a question from a branding perspective, and as a brand manager. Eneco does a fantastic job, you know, with showing its innovation, getting into the smart home, working with ventures, you know, and I can kind of see a brand image here. You know, how does that translate into actually putting customers first? Because it's a nice thing to say, right? But the reality of that, you know, what does that actually look like?
I think that the biggest pitfall of this new world, full of energy innovations, is that we make technology important. But it's not about making technology important. It's about showing what it can do for you. and how it can do for people in the home, around the home. And it's not, technology is just the supporting bit really and making it happen, but it's not sort of the end result or the end benefit that you have this access to technology. It's, I think, explaining how it can enrich your life or how it makes it happen to run a better business in a B2B context.
Okay, well, one of the other key touch points of the event actually yesterday was the debate between profitability and versus conviction. And now you had some strong views on conviction and building brand trust.
Yeah.
Could you perhaps talk a bit more about this?
Yeah, well, it goes really hand in hand, of course. I mean, I think we have to have the realization that actually sustainability is a profitable business model, and it's maybe the only way for sustainable companies that they can survive in the future. So it's not about just a matter of course saving the world only. It's also building profitable business. Definitely.
But then,
one cannot go without the other.
Okay, well, and a lot of the work you're doing at Eneco as well is not just outward communication; it's also internal communication.
Right.
Could you talk about that difference and or how you're going about that and why that's particularly important to hit it, when you want to hit these brand objectives?
Well, actually, there shouldn't be a difference. I mean, internal is external. It's that. So you shouldn't be telling internally other stuff than you're telling on the outside. So, and I guess maybe internal comes even first, because of course when you have an ambition and you have a sort of clear strategy and a clear vision on the market, then it's very important that your employees feel the same about that and feel inspired to contribute that and put it into practice really. So I guess when it comes to internal or external branding, there shouldn't be a difference. I mean, the people are your brand basically.
It's quite interesting you say that, because I remember our conversation yesterday. You were talking about your personal journey and how you joined Eneco.
Yeah.
And could you mind sort of relating that, just kind of for the purpose
Definitely. When I first joined Eneco, I must admit, I was not too aware of the topic of sustainability, but it kind of grew on me. And when starting working with Eneco, I just found out, well, how cool it is to work for a company with a mission, and that really is a sort of extra value to what you do. I mean, of course, I have a very cool job, and the energy industry is a very dynamic industry. But the feeling that you're doing that with a purpose really, well, is a sort of extra, a sort of plus. And I guess the best way to illustrate that is after only a year or maybe less than a year, my husband said, well, okay, well, I noticed that you've started working with a sustainable company, because all of a sudden I was much more aware of how do we do it at home? And I was telling my son to pull out the mobile charger from the and not leave it in the socket and just turn off the lights, and so suddenly I was a sort of
brand ambassador in a sense.
Brand ambassador,
but it's sustainability ambassador, and you kind of are you kind of saying
definitely.
that the industry needs to see more of that? You know, these companies are made of thousands of people, and they each need to be a mouthpiece for the overall goal.
Definitely.
Okay, well, let's sort of round things off on what the future holds for you. So you started this journey. What's going to be the next big thing on the horizon? What are some of the key points that you'll be addressing?
I guess that the biggest transformation is for Eneco is going to be the transformation from an energy supplier towards an energy services provider. So that's a whole different game that we will be playing, and I guess to be able to make that happen is, I guess, the biggest challenge, and how business and branding go hand in hand. Of course, branding is supposed to support business and our business goals. So I guess that's that's the future that for me lies ahead.
Well, I guess that's a brilliant place to bring this interview to a close. So thank you very much,
Okay.
Regine.
Well, you're very welcome, and
thank-
thanks for having me.
Of course, and thank you as well for tuning into this session. If you'd like to hear more about branding, brand value, customer engagement, and strategy, please check out the other interviews from Charge 2016, and also please feel free to check out the website as well. Thank you.